Math time with Miss Hartzell. Module 8, Lesson 1. I can describe two-dimensional shapes using attributes.
Oh, hey there! I was just reading this book about shapes. Because this week, friends, we are going to be digging into our knowledge about shapes. So stay tuned this week as we remind our brains about some of the shapes we've learned about. And since we're in second grade, we're ready to dig deeper into this knowledge. So today we're going to be examining some shapes and we're going to be looking for some attributes. Now that word attribute is a pretty juicy word. So during your pause and think, you're going to think about the word attribute. Maybe you've heard it before, maybe it's a brand new word to you. But either way, I want you to try to think and use the image that I provide in the next slide to help you focus on what we're going to be looking for in shapes today. When you're finished thinking, you know what to do. And then next time we have math, we are going to dig deeper into our knowledge about shapes because not all shapes are the same. And they have lots and lots of different names. So there's going to be a lot of vocabulary words this week. So just trying to give you a little heads up about that. But let's just focus on today's work. And that word, attribute. Try saying it yourself. Attribute. What does that word mean?
Pause and think. What are attributes? We've talked about personal attributes in the classroom, ways that we can describe ourselves. So if we're going to do this with shapes today, then we need to know the word attribute. So remind yourself for a moment and think about this word. What are attributes? When you're finished thinking, press play. So hopefully you remembered that attributes are words that we use to describe, just like adjectives or characteristics. Today, when we are looking at shapes, we are going to be looking at three specific shape attributes: sides, angles, and vertices. These attributes will help us describe and sort different shapes that exist in our world. So let's take a closer look at these three important vocabulary words. Sides describe the lines that create shapes. Those straight lines that connect are called sides. We use this symbol, straight lines, on the sides to show and count how many sides there are in a shape. The word angles means that we take one line and we draw another line and it creates a space in between. That space in between those two lines, that's called an angle. Sometimes angles can be acute, they can be 90 degrees or a right angle, or they can be obtuse, which means that they are more than 90 degrees. And the last vocabulary word is the word vertex or vertices. And this part of a shape is the very point at which two lines come together. We use circles to count how many points there are on a shape, just like in the image you are looking at. So let's take a look at these images. They've already been sorted for us, but let's make sure that we understand where the sides are. Starting in the first category, we see three-sided shapes. So remember that we are going to use a straight line to help us count those sides. And yes, this first shape does have three sides, along with the rest of its friends in the category. All of these shapes have three sides. In the next category, it is labeled four-sided. So all of the shapes in this category have 4 sides. Let's count them. Oops, forgot one. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes, all of these shapes have 4 sides. They don't all look the same, but they are all 4-sided shapes. In our next category, we have 5-sided shapes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This first shape is probably a familiar 5-sided shape, but not all 5-sided shapes look the same. So we'll count the sides, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and yes, this shape is also a 5-sided shape, along with the other example that is in this category. And in our last category, we have 6-sided shapes. So each shape has 6 sides. So I should be able to make 6 vertical lines. And not every 6-sided shape looks the same. So it's always best to count every side, every line that is used to create the shape. So now we're going to take a look at the angles, and we're going to see if the angles match the categories. So we have the same shapes, but this time our categories are 3 angles, 4 angles, 5 angles, and 6 angles. So to show where angles are in a shape, we draw part of a circle. So this first shape does have 3 angles, along with this other shape. 1, 2, 3, and all of the other shapes in this category. They all have 3 angles. So again, to show angles, we use this half, kind of like part of a circle to show. But when we have a special angle like this one, this is called a right angle or a 90-degree angle. So we try our best to create a square. And that's the only one in this category that I was able to make that special angle symbol. So all of the shapes in the first category have 3 angles. Moving on to the next category for 4 angles. In this category, I notice a lot more shapes that have that right angle. So I'm going to try my best to mark that with the special symbol. Technology is not always perfect, but here in this shape, it does have 4 angles, but those angles are not right. So I'm going to use the curve to show those angles. As I move down here, I can locate 4 angles. 1, 2, 3, 4. And those angles were right. This is another 4-sided or 4-angled shape, but these angles are not right. So I will use this symbol to show the angles. And this symbol looks like it's a right angle, but actually these angles are not right angles. So I will use this shape, this symbol, to show those angles. So that's how all of these shapes have 4 angles. In our next category, 5 angles. Each of these shapes should have 5 angles. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Let's count this shape. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now it looks like there's only 4, but actually this is an angle. There is a lot of space from one side to the other side, and all of that space is an angle, just like in this shape. Although it's not an average 5-angled shape, it does have 5 angles. 4 of them are regular, and 1 is more than what we're used to. And in our last category, these should have 6 angles. So let's count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And we'll just check all of our shapes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 1. Here's one of those special angles. 2, 3, 4, 5, and the last one, 6. So on this page, we are looking at angles. We use this special symbol to represent the angles, and when we had a right angle, we tried our best to make an L. And those are the symbols we use to count angles. All angles are not the same, but remember that an angle is created when 2 lines are brought together, and in shapes that happens a lot. So keep your eyes peeled for angles today while you're doing your daily problem, your daily practice, and your exit ticket. We have one more slide to work on. Here are the same shapes that we've been studying today, but now we're going to look for their vertices. And if you've noticed something, the 3-sided shapes also had 3 angles, and they also have 3 vertices. Remember that the vertices are the very points on the shape, and we can use a circle to show those vertices. So those 3-sided shapes that had 3 angles also have 3 vertices. And vertices, again, are just the very point where the lines meet to create that angle. The angle is the space created by the 2 lines when they are joined together, but the vertice is the very point where those 2 lines meet. And let's look at our 4 vertices. They do, in fact, have 4 vertices, just like they have 4 sides and 4 angles. So although you're not going to be able to draw on your screen when you are examining shapes today, you can use this knowledge that you've learned and your eyes to count sides, angles, and vertices. So just like these shapes in this category had 4 sides and 4 angles, they also have 4 vertices. And same thing is going to happen with our 5 vertices and 6 vertices. However many sides there are will be the same amount of angles and vertices. Five sides, 5 angles, 5 vertices. And our last category, 6 vertices, we will find that it is similar to the sides and the angles. since there were 6 sides and 6 angles, there will also be 6 vertices. So that's kind of the biggest thing you can take away from today's lesson, that when you are studying a shape and you're looking for these attributes, the attributes should match. If you are counting a shape and you have counted 6 sides and you start counting the angles should be 6 as well. And if they're not 6, then you might have missed an angle or you might have miscounted the number of sides. Okay, so that is pretty much what you're doing for your work. You will be shown a shape. You won't be shown more than one at a time. And your job will be to answer questions about the sides, the angles, or the vertices. So use that language today as you do your work. And remember, sides are the lines that create the shape. Angles is the space that the lines create when they are joined together. And the vertices are the very point in which those lines meet. So do your best today, and remember the information that you've learned, and remember that if you are counting the number of sides, that should be the same for your angles and your vertices, okay? So do your best today, and when you think that you are ready for the exit ticket, you may complete that on the last page. Remember that the daily practice is a place where I will give you some hints and reminders about the lesson today. But once you get to the exit ticket page, you are all on your own. That's why you see the daily practice we do. That's because I've been giving you hints. And the last part of your Google form is called the exit ticket you do, because at that point in the lesson, you should be able to do the work independently. So as I always say, do your best because you know you are the best. Have a great day, friends.